It is December 14th, time of taping, Tuesday, 7:59 p.m. as we embark to unpack the last UFC card of the year. It's been a great year. Our first year doing this with my co-host Dave. It's been a good run. I'm ready to finish strong with some good bets. Before we start unpacking this one, though, we do have two elephants in the room that we must discuss. One more important than the other. How did we fare? I don't know if you have the numbers there in the $50 challenge.
Ooh, I do have the numbers right here. And this $50 challenge has really sparked a lot of fun for me. A lot of people were checking it out on our shorts and our TikTok account too, man. So we all started with $50, as you guys know. And we started with the prelims, and we took a $50 bankroll, and we tried to build it to as big as we could. Now, in my mind, I was thinking that maybe we were just going to try to win some money. But then when we started betting, the competition came out of us, and we were trying to just win the most that we possibly could to beat each other. And, some people succeeded, some people failed. Now, I failed, and Stuart, the steel cage, he turned his $50 into a whopping $524 and took the prize. Bad Bitch Gate did have about $148 left after the challenge, and then Dustin Poirier burned the rest of my bankroll, so I ended up with a big old zero. But man, good job. I mean, turning $50 into $524, that is unheard of and crazy.
I do want to preface this to the people. Because I'm a man of integrity and a man of intention. I did go a little off script for this, got a couple of lucky calls, Pena being one, which we'll get to that in just a second. I got into prop betting. I'm not typically a prop bet guy when it comes to the UFC, but I might be prop bet guy, and I might have a nice little prop bet sprinkle for you on this card, or maybe two. We'll see. The second elephant in the room, we did just allude to a Nunes and Pena fight. A little bit of an eyebrow raiser, kind of like Dwayne Johnson. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
In the tap out there. What was your take there?
Dude, that was a very weird fight to me. I was starting to kind of think, Amanda Nunes is coming in there with a six-pack. She's kind of coming in there with a fur coat and just her sports bra on. What's going on in Amanda Nunes' head? She kind of looked like she had just got done crying on the walk out to the cage as well. Very strange things going on. And then the way she fought her was also very strange. I mean, she sat her down in the first round instead of having her get back up and keep on going. She looked like she got down there and burned out her arms in the first round. Then in the second round, I mean, you're telling me this girl, the champ, the greatest of all time, didn't have a gas tank to go 2 rounds with Pena? I mean, it looked like a cardio tap from what I could see. I mean,
she did not want to go another 3 rounds at that point.
Yeah.
Thinking about family, maybe she's whistling around the graveyard right now. You do see that. You've seen it in that division, the passing of the guard. Now I think it might get passed around a few times because I don't think Pena is elite. I think this might be more like a Holly Holmes situation where I'm just going to hold it here for a second and I'm going to hang on to it till someone comes in and takes it from me, which would probably be my very next fight. But yeah, it was definitely a reach for the cage situation. Definitely put that on high alert because it does seem like there's some more going on. And I think if there's a rematch or the next time Nunes gets in the Octagon, I think that might be an auto fade for me, at least a fade consideration, especially line dependent. But it's interesting there. Now another thing. We had 17,000 plus views on our last video, so we appreciate every single one of you. I would appreciate if we could get some more comments in there. Speak to the class. Tell people whether you hate our picks, like our picks, or just want to comment on it. Please do. We enjoy reading them, and we'll comment back on all of them. We don't get that many at the time being, so you could probably engage in some conversation with us.
Oh, yeah, somebody came after our Tony Kelly pick, and you saw what happened with Tony Kelly, man. You don't want to bet against us most of the time. I know sometimes we're split, but, man, if me and you both agree on a fight, that's a pretty high percentage of a win there. So these guys in the comments, they don't want the smoke when it comes to consensus Octagon pick because they're going to get burned.
Hey, catch us with our pants down or we catch you with your pants down. Put your comments in there. You know what I mean? Also, it is free. Like and subscribe. Please just hit the like button, hit subscribe. It's not difficult to do, costs you nothing, and it helps us out. so we can keep giving you bets. And by the way, if you bet with us, to Dave's point, you won a shit ton of money.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we called damn near everything last. There was maybe a couple one-offs, but even the one-off ones, someone on the other side had some verbiage for you. So either way, now I always like to open up with a little bit of opening monologue, and there are two refs formerly. Well, one was a former ref, and one is a current one that's getting on my shit list. Murgliata could also be on the shit list too.
Oh, I hate that.
UFC reffing is really starting to surprise me. And Herb Dean, who Dave was telling me pre-show, actually won Ref of the Year, which fucking puzzles me because he had a controversial stoppage back in just as early as November.
Yeah.
And then again, another one. So Herb Dean, Murgliata, 2 bodies, 1 barrel, Niagara Falls. That's the way I see it. It's time to start getting them out of here. Now, the thing that I want to explain and what I'm getting sick of, and it's reaching a zenith this year in particular, is that when someone turtle shells and they're getting pounded, they'll sit there and basically have a fucking cup of coffee with them. Got to see some movement before they stop the fight. That is a proverbial tap. That is what you hear us use the term reaching for the cage. That's what that is. If they're not working for anything, then then I'm good with the stoppage there. But for some reason that you see more often with particular refs. So I'm not calling all of them out. I've kind of narrowed it down to 2 here. And they just want to let that go. But then if someone gets wobbled, we're going to do early stoppage. Okay, so if you watch the Jordan, I'll give you a particular example in this last card. Herb Dean was the ref. Jordan Wright did get wobbled. No doubt about it by Silva. But he was reaching for a leg. It was almost, and watch the fight. If you disagree, feel free to put it in there. If you agree, put it in the comments. But he was reaching for a leg just like Dominic Cruz was. And then the male feces that comes from the fucking commentary table went after. No, the ref. I agree. That was a great stoppage by Herb Dean. That was a great stop. Listen, I've seen more pearl clutching I've seen less pearl clutching, I should say, coming after war crime than what these motherfuckers say about these refs when they have shitty stoppages. It seems like Dana White is the only one with church bells willing to call bullshit when he sees it. And in my opinion, I think the solve is simple. If people get wobbled in combat sports, this happens. This is what makes it great, that back and forth. Shit, your champion literally came back from the dead in his last 2 fights. And it's what makes it great. What the refs need, I think we need to get, and listen, I'm all for, maybe this is the old baseball dad in me. I'm good with the human element. I'm not preaching like we need to like make computers and technology, but I do think that there should be a little bit more of a platform that they need to all kind of abide by. If someone is wobbled but still trying to work towards something, let them get his sea legs back. It's okay. If they're doing nothing to progress their position, albeit if it's shitty and looks wobbly, let them do that. That means that they're working towards something and if they get I bet when they do get their sea legs back, I bet it's almost damn near 50-50 they win the fight. Because it's a momentum shift. The other guy might gas out. Guy or girl might gas out. I'm sick of seeing these stoppages in that particular case. I just am. And you can tell when someone's fighting back or trying to somewhat defend themselves and where they just turtle shell. I mean, if I can do it from my fucking couch, drinking some Colorado Kool-Aid, better known as Coors Light, then these refs should be able to do it in the Octagon. And that's all I'm asking for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have. Am I off base on this or?
No, man. I've been having a lot of gripes with Dan Murgliata and Herb Dean. I mean, he's been coming across a lot of criticism lately. And you see these accolades like Ref of the Year. You see that Herb Dean is the most highest paid ref in the UFC, or the commission pays. It's just outrageous to me. I mean, you keep on seeing these guys. Are they grabbing the guy by the hip to stop the fight? Or they're not doing it. They let it go. They have a lot of things that is so indecisive on something that needs to be so decisive, and they need to be so uniform with their rules from ref to ref. And it just seems like, depending on the way they feel that day, or if they got booed by the crowd their last fight out, it's really changing the way they ref these fights, and it's just getting crazy. I mean, you're supposed to be the top of the top echelon in your profession, and you really need to get the shit together here. It's really starting to make me go crazy when I'm watching these fights. I mean, people have thousands of dollars riding on these fights, and then these fighters have, thousands, hundreds of thousands, at least tens of thousands of dollars, depending on what happens by the result of these fights. So getting it right is the most important thing, and these guys really need to step their game up. And, that being said, there's a few good refs out there that have been doing a really good job. You don't see their names in the headlines about messing up huge fights, and I don't know why those guys aren't moving up the ranks a little bit faster and getting a little bit more notoriety.
I agree. And listen, mistakes are going to happen, and I'm with that. But I just think that these ones that we're referencing in particular have been rather painfully obvious, in my opinion. And back and forth is what makes a great fight. People will get phased in a fight. We need to stop acting like, the fighter's going to get hurt. No, I agree. If they're knocked out and their hands are flat and they're not protecting themselves, you stop that fight. But if they're moving for the legs to try to get a takedown or get in a position where they can take less damage, that fight needs to continue. I will digress on that because I want to get into this card. I feel really strongly about my picks. Last week I said I was riding the storm, and I did really well. This week I say I feel really strong about it. Maybe I won't do well. Time will tell. But I think we should start here in the prelims with a fight that I really like, and it's going to be Jordan Leavitt versus Matt Sayles. Now, you remember I watched Matt Sayles' last fight with you. I want to talk about him first. Or I watched one of his last fights with you when he fought Bryce Mitchell. That was the Twister fight, if you remember that one, Dave.
Yeah.
And one thing that Matt Sayles has taught us is he's not very good on the ground. And even past that fight, he's struggled to kind of get out when he gets taken down, move around. And there's certain fighters that you take them down, they're popping right back up. He's not one of them. Now, listen, I am not here to sell you that Jordan Leavitt's grappling is at the same level as Bryce Mitchell. It isn't. But I don't need it to be. I just need it to be good enough. And a couple of stats I want to bring you on this one with Leavitt is that he has he does have a pretty active with his takedowns. And I think that he's going to be landing them here, and I think he's going to be taking them down. So that's going to be the biggest thing. And I don't know that he's even a slouch I have it up here right now. I don't think that he's necessarily a slouch when it comes to the striking, but I think that the path to victory is if you got a somewhat good grappler, definitely a big grappling discrepancy, and a guy that doesn't get off the ground, like I've said before, you only need to land 2 of them across 2 rounds. Now, let's get into the striking, though. Jordan Leavitt is a southpaw, which typically gives a little bit of problems for a fighter. I think you can disguise your heavy punches a little bit better from southpaw position. And I think that his striking accuracy, although his volume is not as much as Matt Sayles, so I will say that if it is a striking match, you would give the edge to Matt Sayles. But his striking accuracy when he throws it, it's over 60%. So I can appreciate that. Where his takedowns, though, his average takedowns for 15 minutes was the stat I really wanted to give you. He's averaging 3 takedowns per 15 minutes with an accuracy of 40%. I think this is lights out. I think that he might land a few strikes up top, which will set up the takedown. And once he gets Matt there, Matt isn't getting up. I don't know if you have a take on this one, Dave.
Yeah, man.
Or this one's going to make your ticket.
The Monkey King here, I mean, he's near even at -110 is what I'm seeing. And I mean, long, lanky, everything's pointing his way on this one, man. I like him a lot. I'm going Jordan.
Yeah, plus if you're looking at recency of Matt Sayles fights, I mean, I'm not impressed at all.
I mean, that Bryce Mitchell was almost 2 years ago.
Right. I mean, has he been even when was the last time he fought? Yeah, that was his last fight, Bryce Mitchell.
It's almost coming off a 2-year layoff. I know our boy's coming off a loss about 6 months ago where he was favored in that fight. It's kind of an upset losing to Puelles there. But, I think he's got a good bounce back. You don't want to stay away from the cage too long after a loss. So get right back.
I agree with that too.
Get a win.
That was going to be the other thing. I mean, you come off a bad loss to Bryce Mitchell and you take 2 years off from it. I mean, that to me is also a red flag in its own right. So I think we're both going to be on the Leavitt side here. I'll kick it over to you. Discuss a fight that you want to put on your ticket. Now, you were saying that this is a parlay card.
Oh, yeah. Big parlay card. Once it gets to the main card, I do like most of the favorites here. But there's always some value to be had in the prelims. That's kind of why we sneak around in the prelims and try to beat Vegas with these bad numbers that they put out. And I think the first real bad number of line of the night is this girl that I've been high on the last few months, but we still haven't got to watch her fight. She keeps on getting her fights canceled. But Macy Chiasson versus Raquel Pennington. Man, I'm loving watching tape on Macy Chiasson. She just looks like an absolute beast. She had 2 fights canceled with Aspen Ladd in the last, let's say, 6 months. And now Raquel Pennington's going to get all those wasted camps that she has been trying to get into this cage. And I just think this girl's an absolute savage. The way that she fights with the complete intensity at all times. She's a real fun lady to watch in this division. And, if she could string some wins together, she could really jump up in the ratings. Raquel Pennington, she hasn't really done much for me lately. She lost to Holly Holm and then got a couple wins from some okay
And Holly
fighters.
Holm doesn't look like a good Holly Holmes has not been a world beater. Really of anything of note for that matter.
And we were at that fight, that Holly Holm Raquel Pennington fight. It was boring. They kind of pushed against each other and nothing happened. So I'm just all over Chiasson here. I think she's a hell of a fighter and going to put on a show.
Yeah. Pennington put a few extra strikes in that fight, if I recall correctly, after the bell, if I'm not mistaken, if memory serves me right. I looked at this one. This was a dog or pass situation for me. I did take the pass side, but I do agree with you. I think there's something to the amount of fights that Pennington's had canceled. You got to think about the amount of wasted weight cuts that you had to do in that time. And you're going up against someone that's pretty big, for the weight class. And when I was looking at it, I don't know what the line is now, but I had her at you had to lay negative 190, I believe, for her, or was it 350? Which one? Where do you have that line?
We're at minus 180 plus 155 so right now.
It's a lot of chalk to lay against someone with, and again, I don't necessarily mind a lot of fight camps because it means that you're active, but what I think might weigh on her is a lot of weight cutting, over the last 6-7 months and going up against what I think is the bigger, will be the bigger fighter at fight time when they enter the cage. I don't hate the play. I didn't have the stones to put it on the ticket. But I think that would be a good dog or pass situation to give to the people there. So we'll move on. While we're still on the pulpit here of female betting, I think it's only fitting that we go right into Sijara Eubanks versus Melissa Gatto. We have Melissa Gatto coming in at plus 145. I am going to take the dog on this one. I think that they're both very similar in a lot of categories. Striking, they both like to grapple, but I am shocked to see the line because if you watch Gatto, first off, she's got the lanky ass body, very long chassis, uses the legs very well from the ground to wrap you up in a pretzel. And Eubanks, the thing with her, I know that she's a black belt, but if you look at her fight, it's not like she really uses that quite often. Where I think Gatto is going to take the control, and we've seen this, and we talked about this on the last card. Female grappling, that's where I'm going to side with whoever has. And I know that this particular one isn't as big of a discrepancy as sometimes when we talk about it, but I still think if you're giving me plus 145 and what I presume, now this is from the eye test, folks, to be the better grappler, I'm going to take that all day. I know you probably have a bet on this one.
Oh yeah, I'm just all over Gatto here as well. I really like her grappling. I like the way she can get it onto the ground. And, I think a lot of this line is to do with the strength of competition. Eubanks, he's been out there forever doing the damn thing. It seems like at this point. And, I'm starting to think that this strength of competition that they're putting so much emphasis on is really going by the wayside with these up-and-comers. These guys are coming up hot. Melissa Gatto hasn't had a loss yet. And you're getting plus 180 money on her for a Brazilian 25-year-old fighting a 36-year-old woman that lost 2 of the last 3 fights she had fought. How do you not take the value play and take Gatto here?
And the thing is, too, and I'm going to give you a couple of statistics with Gatto that I really like. First off, I don't think, and we discussed the grappling portion, I don't think that Gatto is going to even go to the ground on this one, or she wants to. And quite frankly, with 100% takedown defense, if she doesn't want to go there, she won't. With the reach advantage at 69 versus 67, the long legs, check this out. The strikes landed per minute for Gatto is 7, coming in at a 57% striking accuracy. Think about that for a second. She's going to have the reach. She's going to have the length. And I think she can keep this standing. She can fight at a range. Anywhere this fight goes, and we've talked about this before, where sometimes I just look at these lines and I'm like, I'm giving it the eye test. Now I'm looking at the statistically speaking. Nothing indicates a plus 145 unless Vegas knows something that the public doesn't. But yeah, this to me is this is a underdog lock in my opinion. Now anything can happen. There's a reason they got to go in there and fight the fights. But I'm loving Gatto on this one.
Yeah, man. I think a lot of these lines, especially that last card, I'm seeing it on this card as well, this name recognition, it seems like it's very important to Vegas right now to put that minus money on the person that you might know as a household name. And, we can keep on betting these underdogs, and you saw it all week last week. Those underdogs were hitting. I mean, even on ones that I wouldn't have thought hit. And, I mean, if it's working, we got to keep on making money on it.
Absolutely. I mean, 7 strikes per minute in a female fight. What are you hoping for, the knockout? Yeah. You hoping for the submission that's not going to come from someone that doesn't let anybody take them down? And even if she does, I feel like she might even have the upper hand there. I don't know. That one's a bit of a head scratcher for me, but nonetheless, I will take it and I will take the money on it. Good parlay piece too, and also, as always, a good DraftKings piece. Before we give you the next winner, please like and subscribe.
Oh yeah,
cost you nothing to do. I don't think I've said that yet, right? The like and subscribe.
Well, you know what the best thing about liking and subscribing is if you're betting on these fights. And, let's say that you get busy on Saturday and you open up your browser on YouTube maybe, an hour before the fight start. And where am I going to start at? Now, YouTube is going to be giving you stuff like us that's giving you winners right on your page when you open up YouTube. And that's why the algorithm you'll like this algorithm once you start liking videos like this, because we're going to be giving you winners. It's going to remind you of the winners when you open up YouTube before this fight night. And, that's the real reason why these people really need to be liking and subscribing.
Or do it for me.
Or do it for you or do it for us.
I'm still wearing my loincloth from last week's bets. Come on now. All right. Do you got one you want to talk about next?
Man, a lot of these ones weren't really sparking my interest too much. I kind of skipped up to the main card here. Do you got any more in the prelims that you like?
No, we can go right to the main card. I think the rest of mine are also main card. This is a good main card fight. So, Cub Swanson's prelims, isn't he?
I got Cub as main card.
Main card? Well, either way, that was where we were going to go next. So let's just start unpacking that one. If you know me, I've had a soft spot for Cub. I've lost some bets on Cub. I've won some bets on Cub. I just like the way the guy fights. I think, he throws everything with very bad intentions. He is very athletic. He's I think he's like one of the sheer best athletes. He kind of reminds me of like a Chandler, like a very good, like athletic fighter out there. I think later on in his career, he's become a little bit chinny, and I think the gas tanks become a little bit questionable, and you're going to lay some chalk on this one, folks. So buckle up, but it is, at negative 200, but I like this matchup for him. Darren Elkins, the damage in its own right. Listen, this is going to be probably one of the most exciting fights of the night, because both these guys like they have very little regard for protecting themselves. They throw a lot of volume. And, at the end of the day, though, and Elkins, of course, uses his face as his main line of defense, which is always exciting to see. And it takes basically a crowbar to put Elkins out. And he does beat the soul out of people. So how I see this unfolding is, and when you bet this, you're looking, I think it is, believe it or not, I do think this is going to go to decision. That's exactly what I'm hoping for. Or Cub somehow lands a crazy stoppage. Maybe Herb will be in there, giving me some back from last week's debauchery. But Cub's probably going to win the first 2 rounds here. I think he might slow down, and you can see Elkins break his soul a little bit and steal that 3rd round, but it'll be a little bit of too little, too late. And the thing is, why I think it's a good matchup is if Cub is able to unleash his stuff, which is always very, it's a lot of volume and a lot of power. I think that's a bad recipe, and I think he's going to score a lot of clouts with the judges as far as that's concerned. I think he's going to get, and I do think that there is an aspect of like someone that just looks battered, how that weighs on the judging of a fight. Like if you just look like you got your ass kicked, you can't convince me, the human element, that doesn't play a role in how they're scoring these fights. But I'll give you some of the optics. Obviously, Cub, the more active striker at 4.63 with 50% striking accuracy, not the best. Elkins coming in at 3.46 strikes landed per minute with 38% striking accuracy, very on the below average side. I don't think, nothing really too much as far as the grappling is concerned. Elkins does, get some takedown. He does get about 2 takedowns per 15 minutes, but he doesn't really do much with it. And Cubs takedown defense isn't bad at 60%. I think this is going to be standing. I think it's going to be a war, but I think that at the end of the day, it goes to decision. You're going to say, holy shit, that was a great fight. But Cub just ended up landing the more strikes and the more significant strikes, and that'll be the tail of the tape on this one for me.
Yeah, man. I think Cub still got it here. I like him. As far as getting the decision, man, Elkins can just wear on you, though. That's the only problem I'm seeing is, he's going to sneak out maybe a 10-8 in the third round and, dig into Cub's gas tank here. That's the only thing that scares me about this one. This might be a stay away from me until I see him on the scales and see him maybe even fight night. Because Elkins, he seems like he could be an auto fade, but you got Tudo, his camp, and you got Alpha Male, his worker with once in a while, so his gas tank's going to be there, and he can take an old man like Cub Swanson into the deep water. I'm kind of afraid of this one.
Even if he scores a 10-8, though, I think it's more likely that the first round Cub scores a 10-8. I think of the 10-8s that would happen, I think it probably early in the fight, Cub, who tends to come out pretty quick. And again, I there's something to that. Like I don't blame you for passing on this one. I wouldn't blame any of the viewers for it either, because if it goes to the third round, Cub is not going to be the same Cub that you saw in the first 2 rounds. If you are going to go Elkins, I would say you go a third round sprinkle, a third round knockout. I think that's the play. Or you bet that you take the live line going into the third round, or maybe you go Cub and then you hedge with the third round live bet. I don't know. There's a lot of different things you can do, but I think one thing's for sure: if it goes through 2 rounds, Cub is going to easily win the first 2 rounds, and then he just has to survive. Now, when you come to a third round, let's take Nunes for example. She had 3 more rounds to go. That's where you see reaching for the cage. People dig a little bit deeper in that third round because they know they don't have to go out there again. So I think that plays a big role in my decision making here. Again, we're going to let it play out, but I am going to be on the Cub Swanson side.
Nice. Yeah, that's going to be a banger, man. That might be fight of the night right there.
It really could be. All right, I'll let you pick the next one here, buddy.
Just going up the line here, we got Diego Ferreira versus Mateusz Gamrot. Man, I think this is when the favorites start kind of edging themselves out. It almost looks like a Bellator card where they almost look like they handpicked these favorites to get a win here. You got Gamrot coming off 2 wins, Ferreira coming off 2 losses. A pretty good minus 180 for Gamrot. I don't see going any other way on that one.
Yeah, I'll give you some stats on Gamrot. And listen, obviously, Gamrot's wrestling is his calling card. And he's very good at it, and he showed that he's willing to do it for the full 15 minutes. He lands 5.6 takedowns per 15 minutes with preaching a 100% takedown defense. You can't take the guy down, and when he takes you down, his octagon control is another thing. 22% for, 0.3% against. So he's one of those point fighters where he can just control a fight. I don't want to say like Khabib style to make it seem like I'm saying he's Khabib's level, because I'm not. But it is a similar type of fight style, especially at this level of competition. I think the line is actually, I would probably take this if it was north of 200. I really would. I got it at negative 190 on my ticket. I bet, to make things easier for me, I just bet the fights that I'm giving you and a parlay. $10 will land me $800 here just to see what happens. Let it sprinkle in. But in any case, yeah, this one to me is just an obvious Gamrot. I don't see any path to victory on the contrary here, for his opponent Ferreira. And I think you're just going to see a very dirty wrestling, grueling cardio match. And, you probably have to be a real lover of the sport to really like this one. Maybe this is one where you add another ice cube to the glass. But again, I think it's a great bet. I think it's a great parlay piece. And I think furthermore, because of the grappling and what it scores you on DraftKings, you got to save some salary cap space to put them on your DraftKings lineup too. If you're doing that, which again, if it's a good parlay card, that would mean it's a good DraftKings card. So I think Gamrot here, we're on the same side on a lot of these. Although I do think it's hard to be on the opposite side on some of these too.
Yeah,
this seems on the surface an easy one to call, which might be a problem. That might be a red flag in its own right, but we'll see what happens.
We might have to learn some of these round robin parlays for this card. I feel like we could pick about 6 fights and match them up every 3 ways, and it's going to hit, maybe 2 out of the 4 or 3 out of the 4 ways. It's going to hit these 3-man parlays easily.
That might be a good play. If you've made it this far, how long are we in the show here right now?
Oh, we're deep. We're about 32 minutes in almost.
If you are this deep and you have not taken 2 seconds to hit the like and hit the subscribe, or at least hit a comment and tell us to fuck off, one of those 3 things, please do so.
He's coming at you.
I mean, what are you, a maniac? You know what I mean? Goodness.
Come on,
like,
man.
subscribe, people. Let's go. Let's talk Ricky Simón again.
Dude.
You said it best, man. The favorites just kind of seem to be, where it's at. I am Ricky Simón coming in at -275. A hell of a lot of chalk to lay. Maybe on some of these, like we just were alluding to, we're showing our cornhole, and we're going to be like the dumbasses, the degenerates that bet, 6 figures on Nunez to win 15 grand.
That was
I don't know who the fuck has the stones to do that, but they need Gamblers Anonymous, and they need it fast. Here you got two-way pressure here. The guy can strike. The guy can grapple. He can do it all. And that's why where you got a fighter where he's just a clear cut on anywhere the fight goes, I don't see how you don't take him. Again, parlay piece, I would save some money on your DraftKings. And quite frankly, if you're looking for a prop bet sprinkle, as I am now a prop bet guy, I think you should say this one inside the distance. I would go with violence on this one too. So, because if Ricky Simón doesn't win, that means that he got clipped somehow, which I don't see that being a likely scenario, but maybe one all the less. Maybe you just take it inside the distance. Who knows? Maybe you take Simón inside the distance. Whatever you want to do. But I think Simón is definitely 100% the play. That's where I'm going with this one. Did you put this one on your ticket, Dave?
Oh, yeah, this is a big parlay piece for me. I mean, think about it. Ricky Simon's just an absolute monster. Putting together a 3-win streak right now. Just looking better and better every fight. Brian Kelleher's a really good win that he just had his last fight out. And, I mean, at -275, it is laying a lot of chalk. But you got on the other end, just like we've been saying all night, Raphael Assunção, coming off a 3-fight losing streak. I mean, he got KO'd with that brutal Cody Garbrandt punch, and that was almost a year and a half ago at this point. So this guy hasn't been active. He's 39 years old. That was knockout
of the year, was it not?
I mean, if it wasn't, it should have been.
I agree. I don't know that by any merit, but I believe it was, and if it wasn't, I don't know what the fuck was. But the walk-off knockout off the fence.
Yeah, insane, right? I mean, and then you're waiting a year and a half to get back in the cage at 39 years old. I just can't see anything coming of this one. I mean, they fight these fights, and these guys are both complete badasses. But I'm going to have my money on Ricky Simón.
No, this is a serve up. This is more about to give Simon a little leg up in the rankings than anything. I mean, this isn't something where at 39, what do you even stand to gain fighting this low on cards? I mean, you know what I mean? It's not like you're making a title run. You're just in there cashing a check, maybe getting a little bit more of that limelight before you make the walk down the street to Bellator, to the Mandalay Bay, or I don't know what it is that you do, but you're 100% right. You talk about the age, the optics. everything is Simon. Even if he loses, I just got unlucky at that point, and that's just how it goes.
Yeah, this isn't middleweight or something, man. I mean, these guys at 135, you can't be that old and keep that.
In that weight cut at 135 when you're that old.
Yeah.
You know, your metabolism ain't kicking like it once was. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think we are to the co-main. Unless you got something that you want to go through here. As always, we do not go through all the card. We just go through what we believe are the ones worth a shit to bet on. If you don't have anything, we can start breaking down these final two.
I mean, I'm gonna put that Amanda Lemos on my parlay versus Angela Hill, but I mean, there's not too much to say about that one. Just Amanda.
A lot of chalk on that one. What was the line? If you want to give the people that.
Yeah, the line real quick on that one is minus 350. It has moved to, and then plus 270 for Angela Hill on DraftKings right now. Another one that I'm going to just put a big old main card favorite parlay together. Unless these people are looking really good, unless some of these underdogs are looking really good at the weigh-ins or fight night, I can't see myself betting on any of these so far that we've talked about.
Now, Lemos, now for this one in particular, for me, this was a pass, and I'll give you the rationale. I agree. Like, if there is a side, like, I'm not one of these saying the line is wrong or anything. It's just a lot of chalk to lay because, and granted, Angela Hill is just a niche fighter. She always has been, in my opinion. But why she's been able to kind of hang up there is because she's hard to get out. I don't think she's ever been knocked out. She's a dog in there. She's scrappy. And I just don't want to sweat the ticket out, when you're laying a lot of chalk for someone that I just don't think is going to, we're going to have to see it through to the end. But if you're parlaying it or finding some, maybe you prop it or some different things to do there. I don't even necessarily like a prop because I think it's going to be hard to put Angela Hill out of the cage. She's not someone that reaches for it. She's scrappy. But, if you look at from an optics side, she's going to land the bigger punches. She's the stronger fighter. She'll probably have the Octagon control. I mean, I don't see why she would lose. It's just, it kind of crossed that no bet zone to me as far as being too much of a favorite. I wouldn't put it like it's like Nunez where it's like, neg 900, like what the fuck you going to do with that? But, I think, I don't hate you for it. You put I think it's a very good card to put a few favorites together and just let it ride, see what happens, make your money get a little bit more stronger for you and play the risk.
Yeah.
Now, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Belal Muhammad. What do you got on this one?
Let's see. We got a line right now. Stephen Thompson at DraftKings minus 220. Muhammad plus 180. Man, talk about a step up of competition. Belal's last two fights, he got his eye poked out on by Leon Edwards, and then he beat up on Damian Maia, which should have been probably retired by now. And you got Wonderboy just still doing the damn thing at 38 years old. And, talk about somebody, we talk a lot about these people getting old, but I don't see the age on Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He had a tough fight against Gilbert Burns, but I got Gilbert Burns as one of the top three guys in this division. No shame in that loss. So I got to take the favorite here. It's almost like UFC is putting these favorites in just to get nice wins. I don't see Belal having much for Wonderboy here. You got the height, you got the reach, you got the speed, all to Wonderboy. I don't see it going anyway, but a win, maybe even a KO from Wonderboy here.
Ooh. Well, we're going to be on opposite ends there. Actually, to be honest, I couldn't disagree more. And some of the things I've been hearing, as always, I like to listen to some of the other ones and see what other people say, is that it's like a big striking discrepancy, a big striking advantage. And statistically, that's not actually true. If anything, the striking advantage is to Muhammad at landing 4.61 strikes per minute with a 60% defense to basically 4.06, so 4 strikes per minute with 58% defense, albeit very similar, but the edge goes the other way. Okay, it goes with the underdog. We're talking plus 180 money here too. Now, Muhammad he's a dog that gets in dog fights. And he's willing to do it. 72% of his wins have went the distance on the fight, gets his hand raised, a little back and forth action. Guy that fights for the card, which I love to put on my tickets and from an underdog standpoint. The other thing where I disagree with you on, I think he is starting to show his age. I don't think Burns is I think Burns is also one of those people that I think is on the decline, and he made Wonder Boy look silly. I think a lot of people put stock in Wonder Boy's takedown defense, but the thing that you didn't really realize is that the Wonder Boy's previous fights weren't guys trying to take him down. So, of course, that's going to pad the numbers a little bit. And I think that karate style is very tough. That flashy karate is tough the older you get. And now you're fighting a point fighter. You know, a guy that throws the volume, likes to go to the decision, is willing to go the distance. The younger of the two, by I believe 6 years, if I'm not mistaken, 33 versus 39. There is a bit of a reach, which is cause for concern. It's 3 inches, so it's definitely something that you need to make note of. But, at the same time, I'm going to revert back to the plus side here. If I'm getting plus 180, striking numbers are similar. Grappling numbers are in the favor of Muhammad. He doesn't have the best takedown accuracy, coming in at 28%, but he is trying damn near 2 every 15 minutes. And if he lands one, I don't know what Stephen Thompson has. And Stephen Thompson looks to me like he's starting to circle the toilet a bit in terms of his UFC career after his last fight. I know that if you go previous to that, he did have a couple of good wins. Neil definitely looking good after last week. But the thing with me, and I've won often on this where I bet against the recency bias if someone had like a flashy knockout. I think you can do the same on recency bias if someone just looked like pure shit in their last fight. Which, call it what it is. Stephen Thompson didn't look good. He didn't look ready. He looked completely outmatched against someone that I just don't think is like on the incline.
Burns is ranked number 3 in the world right now, right?
Yeah, but you also know that the ranking system is sometimes bullshit. There's unranked fighters that could smoke half of the ranked fighters. We'll see what happens. Sounds like maybe we'll do a little sidebar bet on this one.
Yeah, this one sounds like the one.
This one sounds like the one. I don't know if we're going to I'm interested to see what you do in the next one too. But I don't know, man. It's going to be a good fight. I just think that to me, Wonder Boy did not look as good as I would like to see from his last fight. And that was very recent. Was not that long ago either. I don't know if he has even had enough time to make the adjustments that would need to be made to come in here and put on a good enough show to get his hand raised. I'm taking the dog. Plus 180, put it in the bank.
Can't hate it. Can't hate taking some plus money. I'm still going to be on Stephen Thompson here. Put it in the parlay. But, I can never hate that plus money.
No. All right. I think we are to the main dish. The last one we are going to break down of 2021 before we go into 2022. We do maybe have a surprise for you at the end of the year for next week's show, though. We'll get into that in a second. But first, let's talk about this one. Now, Dave, I told you pre-show, I've been feeling, a little bit on my high horse off of the prop bets and the live bets, give or take, tick for tack. I got to play for the people on this one. And we were talking about this fight in particular, Lewis versus Daukaus last night. And I'll be honest, I said, I really don't know. Because much like I just said with Stephen Thompson, Derrick Lewis didn't look that good in his last fight. You know what I mean? And quite frankly, it looked like he was in good shape for it. It looks like he actually trained for that one, and it was like the worst you've seen him look. Now, is that Lewis, or is Gane just that good? To be determined. Now, what I do know about Lewis, he doesn't throw a whole lot of volume, but when he does, it's damaging. We've talked about this before. He has the kiss of death in his hands. He senses blood. It's not that he always puts you out cold on that first punch, but he follows that up when you are phased with another one that is equally as hard as the one he had just previously landed. He's a finisher. What my play is here, because one thing I know that probably will be for sure, because I think Daukaus is one of those guys. He does put out a lot of volume, 9 strikes per minute out there versus Derrick Lewis's 2.49. So if you look at it optically, if this goes the distance, and Daukaus doesn't get killed, he's getting his hand raised. Bottom line, it's just what's going to happen. He will 100% land more of the punches in this one if it goes the distance. I'm banking that he comes in with a flurry, that Lewis is able to render through that first round. What you do is you pull out your phone, log into whatever your betting app of choice is, whether it be DraftKings, FanDuel, maybe those fucking complete goons out there that still use my bookie. Pull that one out, okay?
You don't want to pay taxes, you go with my bookie.
Or if you want to, what's the one where they'll send you some money from the Ukraine? What's that? Remember that one, Bravado or Bravado, whatever it is? And you put the live line on. Now you're already getting Lewis at plus 115, but after he drops around to Daukaus in the first round, which is what I'm banking on here, because there's no way that if he knocks him out, well, then you fucking missed one. And if he gets knocked out, okay, you dodged a bullet. I don't think this is very high risk. I think this is low risk, decent reward. So he's going to lose the first round. You're probably going to get an even better line coming into the live one, and that's where Lewis starts to shine. He's looking for you to make that mistake where he lands the big shot. And if you really want the prop bet, sprinkle in a round 2 or 3 knockout here. One of the two, maybe both, see what happens. Let it fly. I think that's what's going to happen. I just don't think Daukaus is ready for the step up in competition. You got to love the volume. But again, in 5-round fights, this isn't Gane. And I said this about Gane, by the way, and I was wrong. But I don't think that I think there is a distinct difference between Daukaus and Gane in this particular case. And if you're going to go 5 rounds with the Black Beast, you better be ready to have a chin on you. And I just don't know that, Daukaus is up for that challenge, because it's not a matter of if in this fight. It's a matter of when he lands it. And I think it's going to be post first round. And that's why I'm just going to wait the first round out, sweat it out, put my live bet in. That's what I'm going to do. What do you think?
All right, yeah, I guess we are on opposite sides on the co-main and the main. I mean, I know I kind of touched on it earlier in the show, but these guys that have been putting these awesome wins together, this new blood that's coming in the UFC, it seems so well-rounded. I know that you might not recognize the names that they're beating, but man, Chris Daukaus has just looked so impressive in his 4 wins since he hit the UFC. I mean, finishing all 4 fighters in impressive fashion. This guy can do it everywhere. He's got the wrestling if he needs to fall down on it, but I think he's going to be beating Lewis striking all around. I mean, when you looked at what happened to Derrick Lewis with that Gane fight, that is what we call, I don't know if you didn't see it on this one, but that's the soul-sucking event. Gane took out Derrick Lewis's soul. He didn't look like any of the man that he had in the previous fights that made him great. He kind of was a shell of himself. He got his ass just completely whipped. Talk about reaching for a cage door. My man here really showed that he could try his hardest, train his hardest, and then still give up in that cage. You got Chris Daukaus as a great prospect here. I think he gets a big old win over Derrick Lewis, puts a real name for himself out there, and I think he beats him standing. I think he puts a couple, maybe a body shot or 2 on old Black Beast and puts him away.
Listen, I don't hate the play. I think it's going to be a good fight, and I do think that this is one that I'm going to be leaving it out of my parlays for obvious reasons. I mean, I'm going to go with the live bet angle on it.
Yeah.
But when you talk about the grappling, Daukaus hasn't even attempted a takedown. He hasn't got a takedown yet. So, and I do think that through the later half of Derrick's career, he's really learned to use that fence as his to his advantage, where he just uses the big chassis, puts it down, and doesn't even allow a takedown to happen, which means Daukaus is going to have to stand in there for 5 rounds, which for some weird reason Lewis is capable of doing it. For a guy that doesn't have any cardio whatsoever, he's capable of landing a knockout just as quick in the 5th round as he is in the 1st round, and he's proven that. And if I'm getting 5 rounds, I feel like I'm never out of it, and I just don't think that Daukaus has the power to put him out. Could be right into the storm on this one. I definitely feel less confident about this one than I do, the previous one that we were on the opposite end. Hey, all's well that ends well. We went opposite on the final 2, so it should be interesting. Maybe we'll go 1-on-1. Maybe we'll go 1-2. Maybe we'll see 2 draws. Who would have had that fun at it, huh? But either way, I think it's a good card to go out on for a fight night. I think it'll be exciting. I'm excited to see what next year brings. If you could, please drop a like, drop a subscribe. If you don't like some of the things that we've had to say, well, your grievances by way of comment, please, in the comment section. We'll read it. We'll comment back. We'll get in an argument. Then we'll laugh about it later. It's all good. We're going to survive. What we might be bringing to you next week. Maybe I know that he's a frequent watcher of the show. Vince Murdoch from the Tough House, my high school friend, wrestling team partner in crime, if you will, taught the guy how to drink, said that he will do an interview for us. So although we will not be breaking down fights, we're hoping to bring you Vince, where we will be interviewing him on the show either this week or the next.
Oh, yeah.
Or the next.
Huge Vince fan. I mean, I got to watch him on Cage Warriors, just KOing people. You know, you get to see him on Dana's White Contender Series. Like you said, the Tough House. I mean, one of the favorites to win the Tough House, I would have said. Terrible knee injury that kind of kept him out of the finals, I would say. And I'm excited to talk to the guy. Big fan
really,
here.
Me too. Yeah, the knee injury was one thing. I think that, when you really comes down to it, though, Vince has a great story. Very passionate guy, driven. Still making his UFC run to get on a card and hopefully, in 2022, we hope to be breaking down one of his fights. I'll give you the fucking answer. I don't care about the optics of the fight. We're picking Vince, especially if he was our first interview, which was more than we could have ever hoped. That is another portion of the show that we want to bring the people. If we can get UFC fighters on here to interview them. Granted, this is our first 6 months of doing this show, so more to come on that. But
yeah, shout out Christopher Curtis too. We saw him in the comments
dropped a comment on two shows ago. We picked his ass, and he was a big fucking underdog, and we put a pretty good segment out on him. So, maybe that bought us enough goodwill for him on the show. We'll see what happens. But until next time, listen, it's been a great 2021 of fights coming to a crescendo here with this last fight card. We can only hope to have given you some wins. Like I said, I feel pretty strongly about my picks. I'm sure Dave feels the same. But until next time, my friends.
Hey, you want to do the $50 challenge again this week? The $50 bankroll challenge. Should we be putting that in the shorts and the TikTok here?
Oh, you bet your ass we will be. I will be in Florida, but I will be sending you my picks for the spreadsheet, Dave, and we will get that go. I will be putting my title on the line, and we'll see what happens.
All right, hell of a week last week. I'm looking forward to these fights, man.
All right, stay positive, test negative, my friends.